degrees, and it had been just around that for most of the week prior, is from what I remember.
Very interesting. A lot of times, I ran into with other guests, that have had haunted houses or strange events going on at a house or a location, is when, we trace it back and find that the victim or the departed one, was laying in state, either in, the house or the parlor or whatever. And sometimes their spirits just don't leave. They just stay there. Has anybody done any house cleansing or anything? I don't think if you guys would really want to, because, that could affect people wanting to come there. But has anybody done anything or try to talk anybody in having it, cleansed or anything?
That I'm aware of, nothing formal has ever been done. I was present, as a matter of fact, at Ghost Hunters University that I was just talking about. One of the other groups that came in to investigate was a group of very, very staunch Christians, which kind of surprised me because they usually don't do that sort of thing. But they were there, and they were investigating, and they did go down into the basement. And I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but there was a kerfuffle, and I went downstairs, and one of them was kind of down there flinging holy water around, and he was in a little bit of a panic. So it's never been done formally that I'm aware of, but I'm pretty sure that, informally some of our guests may have tried.
Now, James, what would sprinkling holy water do to, if there is spirits, still roaming in that house? Would that get rid of them permanently, or just for a few minutes or whatever?
Well, I would say in that situation, if he was in the basement, because there is something dark in that house. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was attracted there or it's been there and maybe influenced the people to do the things they do, whatever the situation. But what I'm hearing, they must have come across it in the basement, and he probably had that on in his pocket as protection. So when he got confronted with that, or maybe got scratched, pushed, or something, he probably, as a protection defense mechanism, probably pulled it out and was, for protection to get it back, to stand it off or whatnot. But it's not, or whatever. But it's not going to get it out of there without a full-on prayers and all kind of different things. It's not going to get rid of nothing. You really got to get into depth and details to totally do that with that house, especially the size of that house.
Well, James,
go ahead.
Wouldn't that make it worse though? If you got a spirit, it's on the dark side, and you start spraying holy water, wouldn't that, I hate to use the word, piss off the entity a little bit more?
Yes, it will. That's the thing. You can't do it half. If you're going to go into that, you have to go in with a plan and do it. You can't. If it pushed you, you should just left, because I know there's something dark in that house. It sounds like it resides in the basement. I never went in the basement, but if you do that, it's like poking a wounded bear in the corner. If you're going to poke it, don't poke it. You need to totally get it out, or don't mess with it. But you're right, Gary, that would make it more angry. And then the next people coming in, or even Colleen that's there, it's going to may lash out at her or whoever's next.
Well, Colleen has. I'm so sorry. We get excited here, but at least James isn't pounding the table today or moving his microphone, because he gets excited and he starts banging that table. But anyway, that's okay. We're going to send him a whole bunch of bubble wrap to wrap around his hands before we go on air. But has anybody ever reported getting hurt in that house?
Yes. Yeah. We have had reports of that, particularly during, the big events that we have for the ghost hunters. When there's a lot of ghost hunters in and out, honestly, the spirits in the house get kind of perturbed. And if they go downstairs and they provoke, there are some of us that think it's what's called an elemental. And so, if they provoke that, or they even provoke Mr. Borden sometimes, I've been scratched once or twice. I've seen people get pushed a little bit. Like, it's not, a lot of times it's not like what you see on some of the shows, but I've actually seen someone kind of jerk back by their right shoulder as if someone had pushed them, and there's nobody there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've had my hair pulled a little bit now and again, not to hurt me. I think honestly the hair pulling was just trying to get my attention.
Well, that's one way
but I
to
have
do
been
it.
scratched.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. I think there is some kind of like an elemental there, and you definitely don't want to provoke them because most of them don't like humans anyway. But if you're down there and poking them, or splashing holy water on them, and you're only doing half the stuff, it's going to lash out. It will, like you, it may scratch you. It may lash out at you just for being mad at what somebody else did, within the next half a day or something. And it sounds like that may have happened to you there. I do know also there's a room in that house that you can blindfold me, and you can take me in every one of them rooms. I can't remember which room it is, but you can. There's a difference. One of them rooms has a difference. It's like as soon as you walk into it, it's like being in a whole nother world. Do you know which room I'm talking about? I don't know which one it is. It's been so long, but
I'm not 100% sure, but there is a room in that house that in the entire 5 years that I worked in that house, I walked through the doorway of that room twice.
That sounds like the room.
I refused to go back into it.
That's the one. I don't know which one it is.
I would give my tours from outside of that room, and it was Emma's bedroom.
Okay.
When you walked into Lizzie's room, Lizzie had the big bedroom at the time of the murders, and there were no hallways. There's no hallways in this house. It's like kind of like a giant ant farm, really. But you would look to the left as you walk into Lizzie's room, and there's Emma's teeny tiny little room, not on a hallway, not on its own. It was literally built off of Lizzie's bedroom. And the first day that I worked in the house, I was allowed to, wander around and get the feel of the place. And I walked in there and I went, oh no, nope, not doing this. And I felt really sick to my stomach. I felt cold up my spine, and this and that and the other thing. And I never went back into that room again, except for one time when a local cable TV show was there, and I was giving them the tour, and they wanted me to come into the room, and I was like, no, I'm sorry. I really don't go into that room. And they convinced me to do it because they wanted to record what would happen to me.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh.
I took one for the team, and I let them record me while I'm standing in this room. And they were telling me, and they showed me the film, and it was the weirdest thing because the color drained right out of my face. And I mean, I'm feeling all this as I can see it. The color drained out of my face. My eyes got wide. I started to kind of back out a little bit. I was not comfortable. I've never gone back in that room.
Yeah, that sounds like the room. It's like it reminded me like a big walk-in closet almost, because it's the way that house is designed. It's not very, how do you just, like an architect must have been drunk or something. It's just weird, but yeah, that sounds like the place for sure.
Now, James,
well, it was originally a two-family house before the Bordens bought it. So that's part of the reason it's laid out, a little bit funky.
Now, James, I want to ask you a question. Could somebody bring a entity with them when they're visiting that house, and then the entity just stays at the house because they like the atmosphere?
Absolutely. I was going to say that because here's the thing. She just prelated to the fact that look at all these ghost hunting teams that come in there. Could you imagine what's the odds if you've got 10 different ghost teams that come in there to say over a 5-year period, and each one of them's got 4 or 5 members? What's the odds that just one of them picked up an attachment from somewhere else? And now they're bringing in, listen, that's very plausible, and I think that has happened there. I absolutely do. Then on top of that, factor in you've got people playing Ouija board, which is opening up doors or portals, and anything could come in there. Anything. So, yeah, very plausible. Absolutely, Gary.
Well, you know my feeling about Ouija boards. So, I really think if the owners of the place are really brave, allowing or even doing the Ouija board, because one day I got a funny feeling something bad is going to happen because that Ouija board is there. I'm just going to be honest with you. And maybe that's why they had it stashed down in the basement.
Yeah, because
it could be why it was found down there.
Yeah, that's a good place for it. Because it can open up anything, and anything could come in. And you've got all these different peoples and personalities, and I'm telling you, I can just about guarantee that somebody's went in and had attachment on them or something followed them and thought, you know what, there's a lot of energy here and activity here. Because think about it, you got all these different people coming in, they can feed off that. All these people's fears. It's a bed and breakfast, for the love of God. So you got people coming there all the time getting scared. That's like a buffet for some of these spirits. So yeah, they could just stay there and cause all kind of havoc.
That's scary. Now, Colleen, I got to ask you, do you have any books or a website or anything that you want to share?
At the moment, I do not, but I'm actually in the process of putting together a website, and I'm also trying to write a book. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm not, I like to write, but I wouldn't consider myself an author. But I'm taking a stab at it because I have a lot to say about this.
Well, it's very interesting because I learned more. You know, I've seen documentaries on the Lizzie Borden house, and all this stuff through the years. But I mean, we learned a lot because you were there for 5 years of things that were going on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm glad.
I just out of curiosity, how often is it booked up on a regular basis as a bed and breakfast? I mean, like virtually every day type of thing?
During the winter, it does slow down a little bit. Who wants to go to a murder house on Christmas? But, Halloween, October, is one of the biggest months. August is another really big month. And the rest of the year, I mean, it stays pretty busy, like I said, except like December, January, February. It's kind of quiet. We still do day tours, but the last couple of years, Leanne has closed off for overnights during those 3 months because nobody wants to come out.
Oh, yeah.
But otherwise, for overnights, it's quite busy the rest of the year.
Interesting. Hey, Colleen, you got like 1 minute. Is there anything you want to tell the listeners?
Oh, gosh. Put me on the spot, why don't you? If you have the opportunity, go to the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast Museum. Even just take one of the daytime tours. I guarantee you'll have a great time. The staff is very knowledgeable, and you'll have a good time. You'll learn a lot.
Well, we learned a lot, right, James?
Oh, yeah, absolutely we did. And thank you so much, Colleen, for sharing.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And, when you get that book done or that website up, get a hold of us and we'll get you back on.
I'll let you know. Thank you very much.
Okay, kid. You have a great evening.
Good night.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Well, James, we learned a lot.
I'm telling you, we did. Like I said, I was only there a couple times, but it was forever ago, and about how many different change of owners. But things, it sounds like, changed a lot, but yet there still seems there's still some stuff going on.
Well, maybe it's going on because, I hate to say it, if you got ghost hunters coming in there, these ghost hunters are going everywhere looking for ghosts, and who knows how many of them have attachments. And you know what? They go into that place, and it has a dark history to it. So maybe there's a lot more than this. The father and the mother living there now as spirits. You could have it could be a lot of them by now.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. If you've got spirits that feed off your negative emotions that's attached to somebody, and you're going in there where there's all kind of people coming in and out, it's like a buffet. You're going to be like, hey, I'm going to stay here.
Well, anyway, we got to take our break. We'll be back in 3 minutes, and then we'll have our roundtable wrap up for the show tonight. And then tomorrow we're going to be talking about aliens and UFOs from the host of Encounter Radio. Clarence will be on tomorrow. So, hey, we'll be back in 2.5 minutes. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio with me, Gary, your host.